The following excerpt is a portion of the prospectus summary from the AirBnB filing with the SEC dated November 16, 2020. Remember, this is not financial advice, and we strongly encourage you to do your own research or speak to a financial advisor before investing in any stock. The stock market can be extremely volatile, and we suggest you use caution when investing. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stock market content. Finally, get some free stock by using our Webull and Robinhood links below in the description. Prospectus Summary. This summary highlights selected information that is presented in greater detail elsewhere in this prospectus. This summary does not contain all of the information you should consider before investing in our Class A common stock. You should read this entire prospectus carefully, including the sections titled Risk Factors, Special Note regarding forward-looking statements, and Management's Discussion and Analysis of Financial Condition and Results of Operations, and our consolidated financial statements and related notes included elsewhere in this prospectus, before making an investment decision. Unless the context otherwise requires, the terms Airbnb, the company, we, us, and our in this prospectus refer to Airbnb Incorporated and its consolidated subsidiaries. Airbnb Incorporated. We are eager to tell you the story of Airbnb. Before we start, we want to acknowledge the serious impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on people's health, safety, and economic well-being. Given this backdrop, we feel incredibly fortunate to be able to tell our story. In it, we will explain how we are addressing today's challenges, as well as how we are focusing on the opportunities ahead. Our goal is to build an enduring business, and we want to tell you about it, starting at the beginning. The beginning. Airbnb started with two designers trying to solve a problem: how to pay their rent. The year was 2007. Brian and Joe, two of our founders and friends from design school, were looking for a way to cover the cost of their San Francisco apartment. That week, they saw an opportunity. An international design conference was coming to town, and every hotel was sold out. They quickly created a website, airbedandbreakfast.com, with the hope of renting airbeds in their apartment to attendees of the conference. 3 designers, Michael, Kat, and Amol, took them up on their offer and became the first guests of Brian and Joe, our first hosts. When Brian and Joe told people what they were doing, they thought the idea sounded crazy. Strangers will never stay in each other's homes, they said. But something unexpected happened that first weekend. Brian and Joe treated their guests like old friends from out of town, connecting them to a unique slice of San Francisco that they could never have experienced on their own. Michael, Kat, and Amol came as outsiders, but left feeling like locals. The experience left Brian and Joe feeling something special too, the excitement of sharing the city they loved and seeing their guests form a deep connection to it. Brian and Joe started thinking, maybe there were more people like Michael, Kat, and Amol who would like to travel this way and more people who would like to host this way. These are the ideas that Airbnb was founded on. In 2008, Nate, a software engineer, joined Brian and Joe, and together the 3 founders took on a bigger design problem: how do you make strangers feel comfortable enough to stay in each other's homes? The key was trust. The solution they designed combined host and guest profiles, integrated messaging, 2-way reviews, and secure payments built on a technology platform that unlocked trust and eventually led to hosting at a global scale that was unimaginable at the time. 13 years later. Today, the idea does not seem so crazy after all. Our more than 4 million hosts now offer everything from a private room in their home to luxury villas, from one night to several months at a time. Hosting has expanded from homes to now include experiences that can be taken in cities all over the world, or even online. In more than 220 countries and regions around the world, our hosts have welcomed over 825 million guest arrivals, and have cumulatively earned over $110 billion. Airbnb has become synonymous with one-of-a-kind travel on a global scale. Looking back over the past 13 years, we have done something we hope is even more meaningful. We have helped millions of people satisfy a fundamental human need for connection. And it is through this connection that people can experience a greater sense of belonging. This is at the root of what brought people to Airbnb, and is what continues to bring people back. A new category. Travel is one of the world's largest industries, and its approach has become commoditized. The travel industry has scaled by offering standardized accommodations in crowded hotel districts and frequently visited landmarks and attractions. This one-size-fits-all approach has limited how much of the world a person can access, and as a result, guests are often left feeling like outsiders in the places they visit. Airbnb has enabled home sharing at a global scale and created a new category of travel. Instead of traveling like tourists and feeling like outsiders, guests on Airbnb can stay in neighborhoods where people live, have authentic experiences, live like locals, and spend time with locals in approximately 100,000 cities around the world. In our early days, we described this new type of travel with the tagline "Travel like a human." Today, people simply refer to it with a single word: Airbnb. Hosting is at the center. Hosting is the foundation of the Airbnb experience. Airbnb enables hosts to provide guests access to a vast world of unique homes and experiences that were previously inaccessible or even undiscovered. The role of the host is about more than opening their door. A great host enables guests to find a deeper connection to the places they visit and the people who live there. What began with our hosts sharing their spare bedrooms on Airbnb in a few large cities has grown into hosts listing spaces of all kinds, in communities of all sizes, in nearly every corner of the world. Today, hosts even share their interests and talents through Airbnb experiences. We believe that we have just scratched the surface of the opportunities that hosting provides. There are many more ways people will want to connect with each other and the world around them, and so we will continue to design and enable new ways to host. No matter what form it takes, hosting will be at the center of Airbnb. Guests are members of our community. Our hosts have welcomed hundreds of millions of guest arrivals through Airbnb. Our guests are not transactions, they are engaged, contributing members of our community. Once they become a part of Airbnb, guests actively participate in our community, return regularly to our platform to book again, and recommend Airbnb to others who then join themselves. This demand encourages new hosts to join, which in turn attracts even more guests. It is a virtuous cycle: guests attract hosts, and hosts attract guests. A resilient model. In early 2020, as COVID-19 disrupted travel across the world, Airbnb's business declined significantly. But within 2 months, our business model started to rebound even with limited international travel, demonstrating its resilience. People wanted to get out of their homes and yearned to travel, but they did not want to go far or to be in crowded hotel lobbies. Domestic travel quickly rebounded on Airbnb around the world as millions of guests took trips closer to home. Stays of longer than a few days started increasing as work from home became work from any home on Airbnb. We believe that the lines between travel and living are blurring, and the global pandemic has accelerated the ability to live anywhere. Our platform has proven adaptable to serve these new ways of traveling. And just as when Airbnb started during the Great Recession of 2008, we believe that people will continue to turn to hosting to earn extra income. In light of the evolving nature of COVID-19 and the uncertainty it has produced around the world, we do not believe it is possible to predict COVID-19's cumulative and ultimate impact on our future business, results of operations, and financial condition. COVID-19 has materially adversely affected our recent operating and financial results, and is continuing to materially adversely impact our long-term operating and financial results. However, we believe that as the world recovers from this pandemic, Airbnb will be a vital source of economic empowerment for millions of people. We have experienced rapid growth since our founding. In 2019, we generated gross booking value, GBV, of $38.0 billion, representing growth of 29% from $29.4 billion in 2018, and revenue of $4.8 billion, representing growth of 32% from $3.7 billion in 2018. During the 9 months ended September 30, 2020, our business was materially impacted by the global COVID-19 pandemic, with GBV of $18.0 billion, down 39% year-over-year, and revenue of $2.5 billion, down 32% year-over-year. We generated $1.0 billion of net cash provided by operating activities, and incurred $507.0 million of purchases of property and equipment cumulatively from January 1, 2011 through December 31, 2019, resulting in cumulative positive free cash flow of $520.1 million during the same period. We believe that we are still early in the global shift in consumer preferences toward one-of-a-kind stays and experiences, which provides an opportunity to further grow our community and business. As a result, we have consistently reinvested the free cash flow that we have generated to meet our business needs and expand our operations. During 2019, net cash provided by operating activities was $222.7 million and free cash flow was $97.3 million, compared to net cash provided by operating activities of $595.6 million and free cash flow of $504.9 million in 2018. In addition, during 2019, we had a net loss of $674.3 million and adjusted EBITDA of $253.3 million, compared to a net loss of $16.9 million and adjusted EBITDA of $170.6 million in 2018. During the 9 months ended September 30, 2020, our business was materially impacted by COVID-19, with net cash used in operating activities of $490.6 million, a decrease of $909.7 million year-over-year, free cash flow of $520.1 million, a decrease of $839.9 million year-over-year, net loss of $696.9 million, a decrease of $374.1 million year-over-year, and adjusted EBITDA of $230.2 million, a decrease of $253.3 million year-over-year. See the section titled Selected Consolidated Financial and Other Data, Non-GAAP Financial Measures for a reconciliation of adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow to net loss and net cash provided by operating activities, respectively, the most directly comparable financial measures calculated in accordance with U.S. Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, GAAP. Serving our stakeholders. AirBnB has 5 stakeholders and is designed with all of them in mind. Along with employees and shareholders, we serve hosts, guests, and the communities in which they live. We intend to make long-term decisions considering all of our stakeholders, because their collective success is key for our business to thrive. Below, we will share more about our hosts, our guests, our communities, and how we serve them. Our hosts. Who are our hosts? AirBnB's hosts are the foundation of our community and business. It is their individuality that makes Airbnb unique. From schoolteachers to artists, our hosts span more than 220 countries and regions and approximately 100,000 cities, and 55% of our hosts are women. As of September 30, 2020, we had over 4 million hosts around the world, with 86% of hosts located outside of the United States. Our hosts had 7.4 million available listings of homes and experiences as of September 30, 2020, of which 5.6 million were active listings. We consider a listing of a home or an experience to be an active listing if it is viewable on Airbnb and has been previously booked at least once on Airbnb. In 2019, 84% of our revenue resulted from stays with existing hosts who had completed at least one guest check-in event, a check-in, on or before December 31, 2018. Our hosts largely come to us organically, with 79% of our hosts coming directly to our platform to sign up to host in 2019. In 2019, we added more hosts than any year in our history, with 23% of our new hosts first starting out as guests on Airbnb. Why do they host? Our hosts have multiple motivations for hosting on Airbnb. Hosts can earn extra income. In a 2019 survey of hosts that we conducted, half of our hosts told us that the supplemental income they generated helped them afford to stay in their homes. Hosts can connect guests to their communities. In the same survey, of the hosts who made recommendations, 87% said that they recommend local restaurants and cafes to their guests, and 82% said they recommend businesses that are locally owned. Hosts can share their skills and passions. Airbnb experiences allow our hosts to not only share their homes with guests, but also their skills and passions by offering authentic activities in over 1,000 cities around the world. What do we provide our hosts? Airbnb is more than just a distribution channel, we are an enablement platform for our more than 4 million hosts. We have designed our platform to empower anyone to become a host and give them what they need to be successful and deliver a high-quality experience. Global demand. Because of strong demand from guests around the world for active listings in 2019 that were new to our platform, 50% received a booking within 4 days of becoming available, and 75% received a booking within 16 days of becoming available. Activation and merchandising. Our product makes it easy for a new host to create, activate, and merchandise their new listing, and we also provide recommendations and tools for hosts to attract incremental demand. Pricing. While hosts set their own prices, we provide hosts with smart pricing tools that suggest prices for their listings, and we also provide data insights that include how host occupancy rates compare to other listings on our platform. Scheduling. Hosts can easily manage their calendars and accept, track, and manage their upcoming reservations on our website and mobile apps. Payments. We facilitate all payments on our platform, collecting payments from guests and processing payments to hosts. We also provide tools to hosts to manage and track their earnings. Community support. We have a global community support team to help with issues that arise before, during, or after a stay or experience. Host protections. Our host protections include property damage protection and liability coverage. In addition, our trust and safety initiatives include risk scoring, watch list and background checks, fraud and scam prevention, secure messaging, secure payments, and minimum age requirements. Reviews and feedback. Our platform builds trust by enabling hosts and guests to learn from each other through the reviews they leave following each stay or experience. Superhost Program. Our Superhost program recognizes our most active and high-quality hosts. Superhosts typically enjoy higher occupancy rates because guests value the hospitality, quality, and reliability they offer. Our guests. Who are our guests? From young people to retirees, our guests come from a range of cultures and places. They seek everything from budget stays to luxury accommodations in large cities to remote villages. What they often have in common is a curiosity about the world and open-mindedness to other people and cultures. In 2019, 54 million active bookers worldwide booked 327 million nights and experiences on our platform, and since our founding, there have been over 825 million guest arrivals on Airbnb. Most of our guests discover Airbnb organically, with approximately 91% of all traffic to Airbnb coming through direct or unpaid channels during the 9 months ended September 30, 2020. Guests are highly engaged and contribute value for hosts and other guests. Over 68% of guests left reviews of their stays in 2019, and collectively, hosts and guests have written more than 430 million cumulative reviews as of September 30, 2020. Many of these guests return to our platform. During 2019, 69% of our revenue was generated by stays from repeat guests. Why do guests choose Airbnb? Guests can be hosted. Whether guests stay with a host or have a home all to themselves, they can experience the cities they visit the same way locals do. Guests can visit real neighborhoods. From visiting local neighborhood coffeehouses, shops, grocers, restaurants, bakeries, parks, hikes, and bike paths, guests can feel like part of a local community and discover a world right outside their door. Guests can stay in unique spaces. We believe we offer more unique homes than any other platform, and that the majority of our listings, from igloos to tree houses and castles to boats, are only available on Airbnb. Guests can feel at home. Spaces on Airbnb have all the amenities of a place you can call home, such as living rooms, kitchens, and backyards. Guests can find superior value. Based on our survey data, a majority of guests tell us they choose Airbnb to save money while traveling, as listings on Airbnb often provide greater value through more space and amenities than options like chain hotels that typically provide only single rooms. Guests can take any type of trip. From nearby stays to international vacations, family gatherings to corporate meetings, and weekend getaways to multi-month stays, Airbnb offers a wide range of accommodations for all types of trips. Guests can stay anywhere. Our hosts offer listings for guests in approximately 100,000 cities, many of which are not served by hotels, and according to a report that we commissioned in 2018, even in popular destinations, at least 2/3 of our guest arrivals take place outside of traditional tourist districts. Guests can have authentic experiences. From making handmade pasta in Rome to studying music history in Havana, Airbnb experiences offer tens of thousands of experiences in communities around the world. Guests can rely on a trusted platform. Guests can rely on reviews to give them confidence about what they are booking, community support to help with issues arising before, during, or after a stay or experience, as well as our guest refund policy that Airbnb will rebook or refund a guest if a listing does not meet our hosting standards. In 2007, we began with a single listing on Roche Street in San Francisco's Soma district. Today, Airbnb operates in approximately 100,000 cities, ranging from large cities to small towns and rural communities, in more than 220 countries and regions around the world. Our business is intertwined with these communities, and we are focused on seeing them thrive. How do we serve the communities in which we operate? We create economic stimulus. Between host income and guest discretionary spending, we believe the majority of the economic activity on Airbnb remains in the neighborhoods where guests stay. We are committed to being good partners. We have invested in creating tools to help cities to more effectively enforce their regulations, and we have worked with thousands of local regulators, policymakers, and other local leaders to engage with the communities in which we operate. We offer support in times of crisis. We have created a program through which hosts offer their spaces to people in need and, to date, hosts in 99 countries have housed more than 75,000 people recovering from natural disasters, international refugees, or more recently, frontline responders during COVID-19. Our system of trust. One of our core innovations has been the design of a system that allows millions of strangers to trust one another. The system for trust that we have designed includes reviews, secure messaging and account protection, risk scoring, secure payments, watch list and background checks, cleanliness standards, fraud and scam prevention, insurance and protections, age restrictions, an urgent safety line, a 24/7 neighborhood support line, and our guest refund policy. We deploy some of these features such as reviews and secure payments globally, and others such as background checks in specific countries and regions. Our market opportunity. We have a substantial market opportunity in the growing travel market and experience economy. We estimate our serviceable addressable market, SAM, today to be $1.5 trillion, including $1.2 trillion for short-term stays and $239 billion for experiences. We estimate our total addressable market, TAM, to be $3.4 trillion, including $1.8 trillion for short-term stays, $210 billion for long-term stays, and $1.4 trillion for experiences. We have estimated key components of our SAM and TAM using 2019 actual figures, and believe our market opportunity can grow over the long term at the rate of travel spending. While the current travel market remains unpredictable, we believe estimates made prior to the COVID-19 pandemic to be the best representation of our long-term travel opportunity. Our strengths. We have 6 core strengths that helped Airbnb create a new category and give us a competitive advantage. Unique host community. The more than 4 million hosts in our community are as unique as the homes and experiences they share, with the majority of our 5.6 million active listings only available on Airbnb. Engaged guest community. Our hosts have welcomed hundreds of millions of guest arrivals through Airbnb. Our guests come directly to our platform, actively participate in our community, and return regularly to book again. Globally recognized brand. Our brand is recognized globally, and Airbnb is used as a noun and a verb in countries all over the world. Global network. Hosts and guests attract each other to Airbnb, creating a global network across more than 220 countries and regions. Custom-built platform. Our technology platform was built for the unique needs of our hosts and guests. It allows us to quickly adapt to what our hosts and guests around the world require, and delivers deep business intelligence insights to help us manage our marketplace. Design-driven approach. Since the beginning, design has been at the core of everything we do, and it has enabled us to create a new category. Our long-term growth strategy. Our strategy is to continue to invest in our key strengths. Unlock more hosting. In order to have enough selection for guests booking on our platform, we will continue to invest in growing the size and quality of our host community. We believe that we have just scratched the surface of the opportunities that hosting can provide. Grow and engage our guest community. We intend to attract new guests to Airbnb and convert more of them into brand advocates. We will continue to focus on engaging our existing guests to return to book and to use Airbnb with more frequency. Invest in our brand. We intend to invest more deeply in our brand to educate new hosts and guests on the benefits of Airbnb and the uniqueness of our offering. Expand our global network. We plan to expand our global network in the countries in which we already have a deep presence, as well as to expand into markets where our penetration is lower, such as India, China, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and tens of thousands of smaller markets and remote areas around the world. Innovate on our platform. We will innovate to improve our host and guest experience, making Airbnb more accessible and appealing for new hosts and guests, and driving increased engagement and loyalty with our existing community. Design new products and offerings. We will design new opportunities for connection. As the world continues to change, we will continue to bring together new technologies with our design expertise to expand possibilities for our hosts and offer new experiences for our guests. Recent developments. COVID-19 has had a disproportionately negative effect on the travel industry. The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in global travel restrictions and a corresponding significant reduction in travel. While many industries have been adversely impacted, travel has been disproportionately affected, as governments have implemented travel restrictions and as people have become reluctant to travel irrespective of such restrictions. Prior to the outbreak, we had seen strong year-over-year growth in nights and experiences booked in the first 3 weeks of 2020. Nights and experiences booked represents the sum of the total number of nights booked for stays and the total number of seats booked for experiences, net of cancellations and alterations that occurred in that period. We first saw the impact of COVID-19 in China in the last week of January, which when contained to China, had a minor impact on the entire business. The outbreak spread throughout Asia, and then through Europe, North America, and the rest of the world by the end of the first quarter of 2020. In order to protect our business from these near-term market disruptions, and the prospect of a prolonged business impact, we raised $2.0 billion in the form of term loans in April 2020 and took action to dramatically reduce our operating expenses as described below. We believe these incremental funds and our rapid management of expenses, in addition to our existing cash position, will help us to prudently manage our business through the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the fourth quarter of 2020, another wave of COVID-19 infections emerged. As a result, countries imposed strict lockdowns, in particular in Europe. Similar to the impact of the initial COVID-19 wave in March 2020, we are seeing a decrease in bookings in the most affected regions. As a result, we expect greater year-over-year decline in nights and experiences booked and GBV in the fourth quarter of 2020 than in the third quarter of 2020, and greater year-over-year increases in cancellations and alterations in the fourth quarter of 2020 than in the third quarter of 2020. COVID-19 impact on our business. To provide additional information on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our business, we have included below the year-over-year comparisons of monthly booking and cancellation trends in the fourth quarter of 2019 and the first 9 months of 2020. Gross nights and experiences booked materially contracted on a year-over-year basis, with a low in April 2020, down 72% year-over-year. From April through June 2020, we saw a steady rebound in gross nights and experiences booked before cancellations and alterations, which were down 21% in June relative to the same period in the prior year. From July through September 2020, gross nights and experiences booked have been stable, down approximately 20% relative to the same period in the prior year. Cancellations and alterations of previously booked trips increased dramatically after the COVID-19 outbreak, as guests were either unable to travel or uncomfortable doing so. While the number of nights and experiences cancelled in January 2020 was 13% of the gross nights and experiences booked that month, the number of nights and experiences cancelled in March and April 2020 exceeded the number of gross nights and experiences booked during those months. From April to September 2020, cancellations and alterations as a percentage of gross nights and experiences booked initially declined significantly, and then have remained relatively stable for the past several months. Nights and experiences booked was negative in March and April 2020. By May 2020, gross nights and experiences booked had begun to recover, while cancellations and alterations began to fall, resulting in a return to positive nights and experiences booked from May to September 2020. From July through September 2020, nights and experiences booked have been stable, down 28% relative to the same period in the prior year. Gross daily rate represents GBV per night and experiences booked, all before cancellations and alterations. This measure is a useful proxy for the average daily rate, ADR, trend over this period, because the net metrics reflect elevated cancellations and were negative in March and April 2020. The net daily rate was not meaningful for those periods. The year-over-year increase in gross daily rate from May to September 2020 was driven by faster recovery in North America and Europe, the Middle East and Africa, EMEA, during this period, which have historically higher daily rates than Latin America and Asia Pacific. The gross daily rate was also impacted by a mix shift toward entire home listings in non-urban destinations, which have higher daily rates. Gross booking value before cancellations and alterations followed a similar trend to gross nights and experiences booked, materially declining on a year-over-year basis between March and May 2020. GBV before cancellations and alterations recovered in June 2020, growing 1% year-over-year driven by the increase in gross daily rate. From July through September 2020, GBV before cancellations and alterations has been stable, down less than 10% compared to the same periods in the prior year. Gross booking value declined and rebounded as a result of the trends described above. In September 2020, GBV was down 17% on a year-over-year basis, less than the 28% decline in nights and experiences booked due to the growth in gross daily rate. GBV reflects bookings made in a period for future nights or experiences, and is a leading indicator for revenue, which is recognized during the period that stays and experiences occur. We expect continued volatility in these trends and fluctuations from month to month as the continued impact from COVID-19 is not linear across geographies, as some countries and cities have recently enacted new lockdowns and prohibitions on travel, and as COVID-19 is continuing to materially adversely affect our business and financial results. Multiple resilient categories were less impacted and showed strong recovery. We believe that the COVID-19 pandemic reinforced that travel is an enduring human desire, even in the face of challenges. People have increasingly sought travel options closer to home during COVID-19, and Airbnb's offerings are well suited to adapt to this changing dynamic. We offer all types of accommodations, allowing guests to find spaces suited to their individual needs under these circumstances. We have worked closely with our hosts, guests, and communities to prioritize and support safe and responsible travel during these challenging times, and have adapted our offerings for changing trends in travel and experiences. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines have listed homes shared with members of the same household as safer than hotels during the pandemic, which supports the way guests travel on our platform. We believe that the recovery in the second and third quarters of 2020 is attributable to the renewed ability and willingness for guests to travel, the resilience of our hosts, and relative strength of our business model. From December 31, 2019 through September 30, 2020, active listings remained stable at approximately 5.6 million despite the decline in booking activity on our platform due to COVID-19. Against an otherwise highly negative travel backdrop, there are several areas of our business that have shown resilience, notably domestic travel, short-distance travel, travel outside of our top 20 cities, and long-term stays. While we believe that travel will change as a result of COVID-19, the adaptability of our business suggests that we are well-positioned to serve this dynamic market in several ways. Domestic travel represents travel within the same country, when the guest's origin country is the same as the destination country. While air and cross-border international travel has been significantly impacted by COVID-19, domestic travel around the world has been extremely resilient. Short-distance travel within 50 miles of guest origin has been highly resilient, even at the peak of the business interruption in April. We have also seen stays between 50 miles and 500 miles from guest origin recover. Travel outside of our top 20 cities, based on 2019 GBV, has been more resilient than those booked in our top 20 cities. Long-term stays are stays on our platform of at least 28 nights. Long-term stays were one of our fastest-growing categories in 2019, as guests increasingly chose Airbnb listings to meet their need for stays of greater length. COVID-19 cost reductions position our business for improved financial performance. In response to the spread of COVID-19 and the resulting material decrease in GBV, we undertook an internal review of our cost structure, ultimately making changes to improve the strength of our business in the long term. We rapidly made changes to manage our expenses in a period of material business interruption, which included the following, among others: suspending substantially all discretionary marketing program spend, reducing full-time employee headcount by approximately 25%, setting expectation for the potential of no employee bonuses for 2020, and reducing executive team member salaries for 6 months. Significantly reducing all discretionary spend. Suspending all facilities build-outs and significantly reducing capital expenditures, and significantly reducing our contingent workforce. These headcount reductions and other restructuring actions are expected to result in charges for 2020 ranging between $135 million and $150 million. We believe these changes should allow us to more effectively manage our business and improve our financial operating results. Risk Factors Summary. Our business is subject to a number of risks and uncertainties of which you should be aware before making a decision to invest in our Class A common stock. These risks are more fully described in the section titled Risk Factors immediately following this prospectus summary. These risks include, among others, the following. The COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of actions to mitigate the COVID-19 pandemic have materially adversely impacted, and will continue to materially adversely impact our business, results of operations, and financial condition. We have incurred net losses in each year since inception, and we may not be able to achieve profitability. We incurred net losses of $70.0 million, $16.9 million, $674.3 million, and $696.9 million for the years ended December 31, 2017, 2018, and 2019, and 9 months ended September 30, 2020, respectively. Our accumulated deficit was $1.4 billion and $2.1 billion as of December 31, 2019, and September 30, 2020, respectively. Our adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow have been declining, and this trend could continue. Our revenue growth rate has slowed, and we expect it to continue to slow in the future. If we fail to retain existing hosts or add new hosts, or if hosts fail to provide high-quality stays and experiences, our business, results of operations, and financial condition would be materially adversely affected. If we fail to retain existing guests or add new guests, our business, results of operations, and financial condition would be materially adversely affected. Any further and continued decline or disruption in the travel and hospitality industries or economic downturn would materially adversely affect our business, results of operations, and financial condition. The business and industry in which we participate are highly competitive, and we may be unable to compete successfully with our current or future competitors. Laws, regulations, and rules that affect the short-term rental and home sharing business may limit the ability or willingness of hosts to share their spaces over our platform and expose our hosts or us to significant penalties, which could have a material adverse effect on our business, results of operations, and financial condition. We are subject to a wide variety of complex, evolving, and sometimes inconsistent and ambiguous laws and regulations that may adversely impact our operations and discourage hosts and guests from using our platform, and that could cause us to incur significant liabilities including fines and criminal penalties, which could have a material adverse effect on our business, results of operations, and financial condition. Our substantial level of indebtedness could materially adversely affect our financial condition. We had outstanding indebtedness, with a principal amount of $1,997.5 million as of September 30, 2020. At the time of the offering, we expect to recognize stock-based compensation expense of approximately for which the service-based vesting condition was satisfied or partially satisfied as of and for which we expect the liquidity-based vesting condition to be satisfied in connection with this offering. We may have exposure to greater than anticipated income tax liabilities. In September 2020, we received a draft notice of proposed adjustment from the IRS for the 2013 tax year proposing an increase to our U.S. taxable income that could result in additional income tax expense and cash tax liability of $1.35 billion, plus penalties and interest, which exceeds our current reserve recorded in our consolidated financial statements by more than $1.0 billion. Corporate information. We were incorporated on June 27, 2008 as Airbed and Breakfast Incorporated, a Delaware corporation. On November 15, 2010, we changed our name to AirBnB Incorporated. Our principal executive offices are located at 888 Brannan Street, San Francisco, California, 94103. And our telephone number is 855-424-7262. Our website address is www.airbnb.com. Information contained on, or that can be accessed through, our website does not constitute part of this prospectus, and the inclusion of our website address in this prospectus is an inactive textual reference only. Investors should not rely on any such information in deciding whether to purchase our Class A common stock. The Airbnb design logo, Airbnb, and our other registered or common law trademarks, service marks, or trade names appearing in this prospectus are the property of AirBnB Incorporated solely for convenience. Our trademarks, trade names, and service marks referred to in this prospectus appear without the registered TM and SM symbols, but those references are not intended to indicate, in any way, that we will not assert, to the fullest extent under applicable law, our rights to these trademarks, trade names, and service marks. This prospectus contains additional trademarks, trade names, and service marks of other companies that are the property of their respective owners.
Thank you for listening to Investing Perspectives YouTube channel. Until next time, we wish you great success in your stock market journey.